chicken karahi that's better than restaurant. Now this is the dish I make when I'm trying to impress people. Every time I make this, it's a huge hit. And I'm going to show you how you can make this at home better than you can get in any restaurant. I'm making 2 whole chicken here, which is about 4.4 pounds, and I have it cut up. I will say for karahi, bone-in chicken is really the way to go. I've made it boneless before, and it just doesn't come out the same. So I'm using shan masala karahi, of course. And this masala is extremely spicy. For 2 chicken, I'm using 1.5 packets of shan masala. You could even get away with 1 for 2 chicken. That's how spicy it is. So just adjust it to your own taste, but I like it really spicy. Like, I want to cry when I'm eating karahi. Then we add our ginger paste and our garlic paste, and then I'm going to put on a glove because this can get a little bit messy, and I'm going to mix this really, really well. You want all of the masala and all of the ginger and garlic paste really incorporated. And then we're going to set this aside for a minimum of 15 minutes, but you can let it marinate as long as you'd like. And then we're going to do all of our prep work before we start cooking the chicken. So karahi requires a lot of tomatoes. So for every chicken, you do 6 tomatoes. I'm making 2 chickens, so I'm cutting up 12 tomatoes here. And this is just a rough dice. It doesn't have to be perfect because these are all going to get cooked into the chicken and mashed around anyway. Then we're going to cut some cilantro, and then we're also going to peel some ginger and cut that into julienne. So julienne is just a fancy word for little sticks of ginger, and that's what you want for karahi. And then I'm cutting about half a stick of butter, and then the green chilies, we leave them whole. Before we start the chicken, we're going to cook our tomatoes separately to get them soft before we add them to the chicken. So I'm just heating them on medium heat over here, and that's about 10 minutes to get them soft. Okay, now for the main event. You see how the karahi or my wok is smoking? That's what we want. And then we're going to add some vegetable oil and then add our chicken to that smoking hot karahi. Now the key to making good karahi is extremely hot heat. That's why I do this in the outdoor kitchen. You want the highest flame you can get. And you absolutely have to use a wok or a karahi. This is not going to work in a regular pan. So spread the chicken out so that you get charring on as many sides as you can. And then we're going to stir fry this until we're satisfied with the amount of charring and we smell this amazing smoky smell coming from the chicken. You'll know when you smell it. You'll know it's ready to add the ginger. And then we're going to stir in the ginger, and then we're going to cover this and cook it on low heat for 10 minutes to get the chicken tender. So that was about 20 minutes of stir frying, and now 10 minutes on low with the lid on. So after 10 minutes on low, we lift the lid and look at the smoke. That's what we want to see. And then we're going to turn the heat up to the highest it can go and start stir frying this again. And then we're going to add our tomatoes. So when you add the tomatoes, it's going to get extremely watery, and I don't want you to panic because even though karahi is supposed to be on the drier side, we technically are creating a salan here, and we need to reduce the water in the masala to get it to that dry consistency. So we simmer it on high heat. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to get it down to the consistency that we want, so just be patient. It will turn out right, I promise. Now about halfway through the simmering, I'm going to add my green chilies and mix them in, and then continue to simmer and simmer until that masala dries down. Now this is about the 10-minute mark. You can see the water has significantly reduced, and I want to point out that while it's hot, it's going to be more watery than it is when it sits for a while before you serve it, so it's going to become drier. So you want to make it a little bit more watery than your actual final desired result because it is going to get drier as it sits for a little bit. So here I'm adding the cilantro, and then I'm going to stir that in, and then we also add about half a stick of butter. That adds a really nice flavor, and then we're going to let that melt in. And now you can see the consistency. Look at how thick that is, but there's still a touch of salan in there. That is what you want because it's going to continue to dry, like I said. So when it looks like this, it's perfect. Now we can garnish this with some more fresh cilantro and some more julienne ginger, but this is just for presentation. Now this has to be served with hot naan, but you guys know I like my rice, so I do eat it with rice. And that is how you make